Now for the remainder of our time, we are going to look at the humanist view of psychology. I have this almost all in black and white because it's a dark story, folks. So get ready. But we as Christians need to be aware. We need to know how the enemy thinks. He is our enemy. It's not the people. We don't war against flesh and blood, but against spirits in heavenly places. What is the humanist view of the cause of behavioral and psychological problems? Let's go through their list. Well, first, it's restrictive, old-fashioned, out-of-date morals. They make you feel guilty, and you shouldn't. Specifically, Judeo-Christian morals, when they tell you that you shouldn't have sex before you get married. Come on, outdated. That's just an old, outdated thing. You need to stop thinking about what your parents taught you, forget about the religion, put it aside, cast aside your conscience, and do this. And then the second is the upbringing by the parents. This, I'm going to expound on this as we go further. You'll see. The third fault of the cause of our behavioral psychological problems is the social environment. So then they have to start doing some social engineering to change our thinking through the school systems and so forth. And then past treatment by others. You're that way because somebody treated you like this when you were 2. How do humanists treat, then, behavioral and psychological problems? Well, they demand tolerance in the society. That's why we have what we have going on in today's society, this demand for tolerance and the redefining of the word itself. They want to lighten punishment for sins, starting with the death penalty. You start at the top, the worst crime. I mean, that is the first law that God gave to man in regard to all of society. The one who takes the life shall have his life taken. That is the first rule of government. Then their next answer is psychotherapy. Focus on ignoring the mind and the conscience by acknowledging negative influences so that you can cast blame and responsibility on other people. And then, of course, release yourself from that personal responsibility. And of course, all of this to build your self-esteem, because that's really important. So we stop using red ink to grade tests in the schools now, because we don't want them to feel bad about themselves. And of course, drug therapy. Lots of that. The greatest crimes in all of history of mankind came from those who claim to be atheistic, scientific socialists. Hitler, Stalin, they were heavy into the concept of propaganda, changing the thinking of the mind of the young generations. And because nobody came up against them in the battle of ideas early on, look what happened. 70 years ago, we call them the greatest generation. They didn't have to go to battle with ideas. They had to go to battle with tanks and guns and armor. The worst war that the world has ever seen came about because people got out of the battle of ideas. Today, virtually all students are taught radical ideas coming from the most godless minds in history, and they breed catastrophic results. I have a serious face on me because this is serious. This is going on, it's been going on for 60 years at least in our nation. Sigmund Freud, Peter Gray wrote this. He said, Freud's agenda for many years was to demolish religion with psychoanalytic weapons. Freud hated God and Christianity. Freud believed that it is the people who reject a biblical worldview and follow their natural, innate desires who are truly sane. Christianity teaches the opposite. We're supposed to control those natural desires. Benjamin Weicker, author of this book, 10 Books That Screwed Up the World, said, his rebellion took the form of baptizing as natural the most hideously unnatural sins, sins condemned by every society as the most unholy and unthinkable, such as incest, cannibalism, lust for killing, homosexuality, pedophilia, sex with animals, etc.